Already?
Oh, too quick.
Somebody was asking a lot of questions.
The View couldn't even keep it together for 1 hour, could they? Because I don't think I've ever seen them so arrogantly pretend to not know or care when Mark Wahlberg and Jonathan Roumie reaffirmed their religious faith live on air.
How do you do that?
Prayer.
With the prayer.
Guided meditations.
What if you don't pray?
You know what? I'm not going to let you ask that.
When I thank God, I saw some of those people go to clap, but then notice that stupid bad thing on my resume and then sit back on their hands.
But you don't even have to be religious to understand why faith is such a wrench in the hedonic treadmill that so much of Hollywood is running on. Subscribe to Elites Exposed for more, and watch this before I break it down.
To return back to God, to find peace, to find centeredness in the midst of all of the chaos that we are all experiencing throughout the world, and to really just return to God and find our grounding, find calm in the midst of it all.
How do you do that?
Prayer.
With the prayer.
Guided meditations.
What if you don't pray?
Now's a good time to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always have somebody pray for you.
Have someone pray for me?
Absolutely.
You do it.
I'll add you to my prayers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To Joy's question about prayer, what if you don't pray? Well, prayer can be as simple as just expressing gratitude. Like, thank you for allowing me to wake up today. Like,
I do that every morning.
yeah.
Did you see Sarah Haynes pull Joy Behar's shirt to stop her from saying something stupid? Because if you don't know, The View has already gotten itself into controversy several times, especially when Joy Behar once remarked about religious people, "It's one thing to talk to Jesus, it's another thing when Jesus talks to you." That's called mental illness. And that one statement of hers sent a shockwave across millions of Americans that hold their faith dear, with over 40,000 complaint calls made to ABC and even 9,000 calls to advertisers urging them to pull their money out of The View. Even former co-hosts like Meghan McCain and Sherry Shepherd called it out, and the controversy even reached as far up as the vice president at the time. That's how big of a problem it became, with the backlash threatening the very reputation and advertising dollars of the show itself. It would have snowballed into a broader controversy had Joy Behar not been forced to apologize live on air.
So I think Vice President Pence is right. I was raised to respect everyone's religious faith, and I fell short of that. I sincerely apologize for what I said.
But this actually isn't the first time that The View has tripped over itself trying to insert mindless political takes into Jonathan Roumie's faith. Because watch the kind of questions he had to face the last time he went on the show a couple years back.
So in the clip that we saw earlier, which shows Jesus speaking up for marginalized people, the poor, etc., which is the Jesus that we love. Not everyone interprets that message the same way these days. Religion in this country even seems weaponized at times. As a man of deep faith, which you obviously are, does that frustrate you at all?
I think what was fascinating to me is growing up, I always saw the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus, right? And now I go to a Black Catholic church and Jesus is brown. And I think it seems that you took such great pains to do that in this and to portray him as he probably likely was, since this was the Middle East, right? Most people don't know that.
Now that I think about it, The View is just a tiny microcosm of a larger trend. Because for some reason, both corporate Hollywood and the corporate media are industries where being outwardly religious means sticking out like a sore thumb. And it eventually means shrinking your pool of friends, missing career opportunities, and not being invited to the big parties and networking events in the industry. Because that's something that even Matthew McConaughey noticed on stage after he thanked God in his Oscars acceptance speech in 2014.
If you have Christian values, a lot of people frown upon that. Why do you think that is, and have you had difficulties with that?
I don't know. I haven't had difficulties. I have had, and I won't throw any people under the bus, but I have had moments where I was on stage receiving an award in front of my peers in Hollywood. And there were people in the crowd that I have prayed with before dinners many times. And when I thank God, I saw some of those people go to clap, but then notice that, stupid bad thing on my resume, and then sit back on their hands.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen people read the room and go, whoa, that wouldn't bode well for me in the future. if for getting a job or getting votes or what have you.
And I have to say, Matthew McConaughey is one of very few people that have enough courage in their conviction to wear it on their sleeve. And I believe you can appreciate that even if you're not religious yourself. It takes a certain degree of force to go against the cultural tide in this industry, where every celebrity is high on their own grandiosity and almost likes to play God themselves. And as for why Hollywood's front row looks so uncomfortable when an actor proclaims faith and expresses gratitude to God, I think it's because it reminds them of just how meaningless their success truly is in the grand scheme of things. That's when the illusion breaks. An illusion is their entire business model.
You've been very open about your faith, and there was a point in your career to where it shifted and you became very vocal and spoke about being in the world of Hollywood and how hard it can be to stand firm in your beliefs. What was that like for you, and what advice do you have for people, young adults who feel like they don't fit in, maybe because of their faith, and they're ashamed to voice it?
Well, I don't think you should be ashamed to voice who you are and what your beliefs are, for sure. But I also don't.
In a world where it's not cool.
Well, it really depends on what world you're in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I live in Nevada now, and the church is packed with people, and nobody wears masks, and people are kind of singing together and hugging and sharing. When they offer a peace offering to each other, they're hugging and shaking hands. But really, it just depends. I never wanted to deny it. I never wanted to kind of jam it down anybody's throat. People just started asking me, what works for you? What do you kind of credit your success? And I was like, well, I've been very fortunate. I grew up in the real world. I got into a lot of trouble when I was younger. It's a very pivotal, there was pivotal times in my life where people came to me and expressed the importance of faith.
And I also think more women are craving men who have a faith-based belief because it leads to more safety, in my opinion.
And I think that when men can kind of stand firm in truth and be grounded in their values and the things that they believe and stand for good, I think that's ultimately
Super
better,
hot?
Better
Yes,
very
Agreed, hot Jesus. Agreed.
And that's why I say it's a trait worth respecting. It's not about the belief itself, it's about the courage that lies a layer deeper in a person's character to be able to go against the tide and make sacrifices for something more important. And Sarah Haynes is right, because that's the deeper trait that even women pick up on and find attractive. That's what Jonathan Roumie spoke about next, because at a time when so many religious characters in Hollywood are portrayed as negative or stereotypically naive and dogmatic, he does one little thing to make religious people seem normal and chip away that ingrained negative image in the audience's minds.
You can bring that to a role, like for instance, in Solo Mio, like it wasn't a faith-based film by any stretch, but I'm like, I want to have a representation of who I am in the character somehow. And so I chose to have my character Neil wearing a crucifix, because you don't see that in movies or television shows generally ever. But people wear crucifixes.
Yeah.
But in the movies, for some reason, you only see them like if it's a priest or if it's a pastor or a religious character. I'm like, no, let's just reflect real people that you can see walking down the street anywhere. So.
Oh, already?
Oh, too quick.
Somebody was asking a lot of questions.
Those must have been a long few minutes for the panel, because The View just keeps giving me more reasons to question why it's still on air after 30 years. But someone that has spoken much harsher truths about masculinity and the role of faith is Denzel Washington. So watch the message he gave to men across the world and subscribe to Elites Exposed for more.